6:15 on a December Saturday, and the auction barn smelled like diesel and frozen manure. I stood at the podium, gavel in hand, calling lot numbers while my breath made clouds in the cold air. The gate latch had burned my palm when I'd opened up that morning. 19 degrees, metal like ice. But by 8 o'clock we had 40 farmers in the bleachers and cattle moving smooth through the chutes. Sold to Roy Hutchins, lot 17, I said, bringing down the gavel. The brass rang clear. My grandfather's gavel, though it lived in Earl's display case now, someday, he'd said. When you're ready. I was Russell Brennan, 63 years old, lifetime farmer, 20 years calling auctions. I could spot a liar at 50 paces and appraise a steer's weight within 10 pounds just by looking, except I'd missed the one sleeping in my bed for 28 years. That evening, I came home to our holiday party, still in my work clothes, and heard my wife's voice through the kitchen door. Russ is past his prime, dead weight, I'm carrying him now. Her friends laughed. Champagne glasses clinked. I stood in the hallway, hand on the doorframe, looking through to the living room. Diane sat centered on the couch like a queen holding court, her leather planner open on her lap. Christmas lights reflected off the champagne flutes. Her investment club friends leaned in, nodding. Jolene, Diane's best friend for 40 years, sat at the edge of the group, looking at her lap. I backed away, didn't say a word, walked out to the barn, to my workshop, and opened the safe. Inside was a folder marked Estate Transfer Dad. I pulled it out, checked the signature line, blank, checked the date requirement, July 15th, 6 months ago. The deadline stamped in red, April 15th, 4 months away. She'd had 6 months to sign it, 6 months of I'll get to it tomorrow. And suddenly I knew, this wasn't about venting to her friends. This was a plan. I sat on the workshop stool, that unsigned deed in my hands, listening to the wind whistle through the barn gaps. The paper smelled like my father's office. Old ink, dust, 50 years of honest record-keeping. He'd died in June. Left me the farm, 200 acres, the cattle, everything. All I had to do was file the transfer within 6 months. Diane had volunteered to handle it. You're grieving, she'd said. Let me take care of the paperwork. I'd trusted her. The workshop door banged open. Diane stood there in her party dress, backlit by the house lights, perfume rolling in on the cold air. Where did you go? Her voice had that edge. My friends are asking. I held up the deed. Why isn't this signed? She blinked, stepped inside, arms crossed against the cold. What? The estate transfer. Due in July. It's December, Diane. Oh, she waved a hand. I forgot. I've been busy with work. Busy. Yes, busy. You know how real estate is. Holiday rush, end-of-year closings. She moved closer, softening her voice. Russ, I'm sorry. I'll take care of it Monday. I promise. You've been saying that since summer. I know. Tears started forming. Real ones are close enough. I've just been overwhelmed. Can we talk about this inside? It's freezing out here. I looked at her. 28 years of marriage. I'd seen her cry before. When her mother died, when we lost the pregnancy, when our son moved away. This wasn't that. Why now? I asked. Why bring it up now, after what you said in there? Her face went careful. What did I hear? Dead weight, past my prime. You're carrying me. Silence. The wind picked up, rattling the tin roof. You weren't supposed to hear that, she finally said. But you meant it. I was venting to my friends. Everyone vents. About their spouse being dead weight. Russ, you're overreacting. I'm taking the deed, I said. I'll file it myself. I stood, tucked the folder under my arm, and walked past her toward my truck. She followed, heels clicking on the frozen gravel. Where are you going? Earl's barn. He's got a cot in the office. You're leaving? Tonight? Because of one comment? I opened the truck door. It wasn't one comment, Diane. It was 6 months of delays and a party full of people laughing about how I'm beneath you. That is not what I said. It's exactly what you said. I got in, started the engine. Through the windshield, I could see her standing there, arms wrapped around herself, breath steaming. Behind her, the house glowed warm, full of her friends and their champagne and their plans. I backed out of the driveway and didn't look at the rearview mirror. Earl's barn sat 3 miles down the county road, dark except for the security light over the main entrance. I had a key. He'd given it to me years ago when I started working auctions for him. The office was small, wood-paneled, smelling like old coffee and cattle. There was a cot in the corner, a wool blanket folded at the foot. I lay down without undressing, still in my work clothes, and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere in the barn, cattle shifted and breathed. My phone buzzed. Text from Diane. We need to talk about this like adults. Then another, you can't just leave. Then, this is childish. I turned the phone face down and closed my eyes. When I woke Sunday morning, light was coming gray through the office window. 6:30, I sat up, every joint stiff, and checked my phone. 12 more texts from Diane, the last one sent at 2 a.m. Fine, do what you want. I called the house. It rang 4 times, then voicemail. I drove back to get a change of clothes. The locks were changed. I stood on the porch, trying my key 3 times before I understood. New deadbolts, brass and shiny. Through the window I could see the living room, exactly as it had been. Wine glasses still on the coffee table, her planner on the couch. I knocked, waited. Knocked again, nothing. I walked around back to the workshop. That door was still the old lock. I let myself in, grabbed my duffel bag from the storage shelf, and started packing. Work clothes, toiletries, my grandfather's old watch from the desk drawer. That's when I knew. She didn't just want me gone, she wanted me out. Sunday morning, First Methodist Church, 9:30 service. I wasn't there, but I heard about it from 3 different people by noon. Diane arrived alone, wearing black, not her usual bright colors, sat in our regular pew, 4th row center. When Pastor Tom asked if anyone had prayer concerns, she raised her hand. I'd appreciate prayers, she said, voice shaking. My husband left last night. I asked him to go to counseling with me, and he... She paused, wiped her eyes. He just walked out. Half the congregation turned to look at the empty space beside her. After the service, her investment club friends clustered around. I know because Margaret Chen, who's been playing organ there for 30 years, called me that afternoon. Russ, I don't know what's happening with you two, but Diane's telling people you abandoned her after she asked for help saving the marriage. That's not what happened. I didn't think so, but you should know. Betty Forrester asked if you'd been violent. Diane said no, but the way she hesitated... Margaret's voice dropped. People notice things like that. I thanked her and hung up. By Monday morning, half the town thought I'd walked out on my wife. The other half didn't know what to believe. I found Linda Chen's office on Oak Street above the hardware store. Legal aid sign in the window, fluorescent lights humming, smell of old carpet and burnt coffee. She was 42, sharp-eyed, gray streaks in her black hair. Mr. Brennan, she said, shaking my hand. Margaret called me, said you might need help. I laid out the whole thing. The party, the unsigned deed, the 6-month delay, the changed locks. Linda took notes on a yellow pad. When I finished, she sat back. The deed situation, that's concerning. Your father died in June 8th, and the transfer was supposed to be filed by December 8th. 6 months. That's the window in his will. She checked her computer, typing fast. Let me pull county records. The keyboard clicked. Her face changed. Mr. Brennan, your wife filed for divorce yesterday, Monday morning, 9 a.m., county clerk's office. The room tilted slightly. Yesterday? Petition cites abandonment of the marital home, filed 48 hours after you left. Linda looked up. That's not coincidence. That's premeditation. I didn't abandon anything. She changed the locks. I believe you, but legally, you left the residence. She's still there. That's what the filing says. She printed something, handed it across the desk. This is her petition. Look at the date she's claiming the marriage became irretrievably broken. I scanned the legal language. There it was, December 7th, following refusal to attend marital counseling. She's lying, I said. I never refused counseling. She never asked. I know. Linda tapped her pen against the desk. Mr. Brennan, people don't file divorce petitions 48 hours after a separation unless they've already talked to a lawyer. She had this ready to go. The fluorescent lights buzzed. Outside, someone's truck rumbled past. How long? I asked. How long has she been planning this? I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out. She pulled a fresh legal pad. First, we need to respond to this petition. Then we need to deal with that deed. You have until April 15th? 4 months. If that deadline passes without filing, what happens? The estate goes to probate, gets sold, proceeds distributed according to my father's will, half to me, half to my sister in California. And your wife wants that sale, Linda said, because in a divorce, liquid assets are easier to split than property. The office felt too warm suddenly. I pulled at my collar. She's been stalling, I said, waiting for the deadline. That's what it looks like. Linda wrote something down. We need to file that deed immediately, before she finds another way to delay it. Can she? Delay it? If she claims marital interest in the property, she could file an injunction, tie it up in court past April. Linda met my eyes. Mr. Brennan, I'm going to be very direct. Your wife is playing a specific game. She files for divorce, claims abandonment, delays the estate transfer until it goes to sale, then argues she deserves half the proceeds because it became marital property during probate. The farm's been in my family 3 generations. I know. But if it goes to probate during your marriage, it becomes community property in the eyes of the court. She stood. Let me make some calls. There might be a way to expedite the transfer, but I need to check with the probate judge. I stood too, legs heavy. How much is this going to cost? Legal aid is sliding scale. Right now, you need representation more than I need payment. She walked me to the door. Go back to Earl's barn. Document everything, every text, every interaction. And Mr. Brennan? Yeah? Your wife moved fast for a reason. Question is, how long has she been planning this? I walked down the stairs into the cold December afternoon, hands shaking. My phone buzzed. Text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Jolene. Can we talk? It's important. Friday morning, courthouse parking lot. The asphalt was slick with ice melt, smell of road salt and exhaust. I just filed my response to Diane's petition, Linda's paperwork crisp in a manila folder under my arm. Jolene Hardwick stood by her car, a tan Buick with county clerk plates. She wore her work clothes, dark slacks, cardigan, county ID clipped to her belt. 61 years old, gray hair and a practical cut, hands that had filed 10,000 documents. Russ, she didn't smile. Thanks for meeting me. Jolene. We'd known each other 40 years. She'd been best friends with my mother before Mama died. At Diane's holiday party, she'd been the one looking at her lap. I need to show you something, she said. But first, are you recording this? No. Good, because I could lose my job. She pulled a folder from her car. Plain manila, no labels. These are copies. I made them during my lunch break. Officially, I was never here. She handed it over. I opened it. Property tax records. Assessment requests for 4 and 12 Brennan Road, my farm. Dated October 15th, October 22nd, November 3rd. Requester, Diane Brennan, Blue Ridge Realty. She's been checking the farm's value, Jolene said quietly. 3 times in 2 months. That's not casual curiosity. I flipped through. There was more. A copy of a retainer agreement, partially redacted, but I could read the lawyer's name, Donald Hayes, Family Law. Date, September 18th. September, I said. 3 months before your party. Jolene's voice cracked. Russ, I saw this when I was processing county filings. I should have said something. I didn't know what to do. The wind picked up, scattering old leaves across the parking lot. Somewhere a door slammed. Why are you telling me now? Because what she did at that party was wrong. Making you look like the bad guy when she's been planning this for months? Jolene shook her head. Your mama was good to me when Bill died. I owe her, and I owe you the truth. I looked at the retainer agreement again, September 18th, 2.5 months before she humiliated me in front of her friends. Will you testify? I asked. If this goes to court? Yes, no hesitation. I'll testify. These documents are public record. Anyone can request them. I'm just the one who happened to notice the pattern. Thank you. She touched my arm. Your daddy was a good man. Don't let her take his land. After she drove off, I sat in my truck and called Linda. Told her about the folder. Bring it to my office, she said. Today. That afternoon, Linda spread the documents across her desk. The retainer agreement, the property assessments, a timeline written in her neat handwriting. September 18th, she retains a divorce lawyer. October, she starts checking property values 3 times. November, she applies for... Linda stopped. Wait. She grabbed her phone, dialed. Hi, this is Linda Chin, legal aid. I'm representing Russell Brennan in a divorce matter. I need to verify whether any loan applications were filed using his name in the last 6 months. Pause. Yes, I'll hold. She put it on speaker. Muzak played, tinny and grating, then, Ms. Chin? Yes, we show 2 applications. HELOC, filed November 2nd. Personal loan, filed November 16th. Both denied, insufficient documentation. Linda's face went hard. Were these applications signed in person? No, submitted electronically with digital signatures. Thank you. She hung up, looked at me. Russ, did you apply for any loans in November? No. She forged your signature, tried to take out loans against the farm. Linda stood, pacing. She knew the estate hadn't transferred yet. If those loans had gone through before you filed the deed, the farm would have been collateral. My hands felt cold. She was going to force a sale. That's exactly what she was doing. Linda sat back down, pulled out a fresh legal pad. Okay, here's what we know. September, she gets a lawyer. October, she checks property values. November, she tries to secure loans. December, she publicly humiliates you. You leave. She files for divorce, claiming abandonment 48 hours later. And it was all planned. Every step. Linda tapped her pen against the desk. And the deadline for the estate transfer is April 15th. If you miss it, the farm goes to probate sale. She gets half. So what do I do? We file the deed Monday. I'll expedite it with the probate judge. I know him. He's reasonable. We attach these loan applications as evidence of fraud. And Russ? She looked up. We're going to win, but it's going to get ugly first. Saturday morning, first auction since the separation. I stood at the podium, gavel in hand, looking at half-empty bleachers. Maybe 20 farmers, where we usually had 50. Earl came over before we started, coffee cup steaming. They'll come back, he said. Just give it time. Maybe. No, maybe. You're good people. They know it. I called the first lot. My voice sounded steady enough. Roy Hutchins bid on a heifer. Stella sat beside him, arms crossed. When I brought the gavel down, sold, she nodded once. Not much, but something. But after the auction, Earl took the microphone. Folks, before you go, just want to say, integrity's rarer than good breeding stock these days. Don't let it go cheap. Scattered applause. Not much, but I felt it. I sold 3 head that morning, not my best day, but I was still standing. Wednesday morning, 3rd week of January, Diane's lawyer filed a motion for temporary restraining order, claims, threatening behavior, fear for her safety, request to bar me from the marital property pending settlement. The hearing was set for Friday. Linda called me at Earl's barn. They're escalating. She knows we're about to file the deed, and she's trying to keep you off the property. I haven't threatened her. I know, but if the judge grants this, you can't set foot on your father's land until the divorce is final. That could take months, Russ, past April 15th. I sat on the cot, phone pressed to my ear, watching gray light come through the office window. Ice coated everything outside. Trees, fence posts, the auction barn roof. What do? We fight it. Friday, 10 a.m. Bring documentation, every text, every interaction. And Russ, stay calm in that courtroom. Don't give them ammunition. Thursday morning, I got a call from Mr. Peterson at First Trust Bank. His voice was careful, formal. Mr. Brennan, could you come by the bank today? There's a matter we need to discuss. What kind of matter? I prefer to discuss it in person. I drove to town through freezing rain, windshield wipers scraping ice. The bank smelled like old carpet and coffee, fluorescent lights humming overhead. Peterson's office was in the back, wood-paneled, photos of his grandkids on the desk. He didn't shake my hand, just gestured to a chair. Mr. Brennan, I need to show you something. He slid papers across the desk. These loan applications, do you recognize them? 2 applications. HELOC for $150,000, personal loan for $75,000. Both dated November, both showing my signature. I didn't sign these. That's what I suspected. Peterson leaned back, fingers steepled. They were submitted electronically. We denied them. Insufficient documentation, as I told Ms. Chen on the phone. But Russ, if these had gone through before the estate transfer, he didn't finish. The farm would have been collateral. Yes, he pulled out another folder. I filed a fraud report with the county sheriff, but there's something else. He opened it. Your joint account. Balance as of December 1st was $47,600. That was your father's life insurance payout, correct? Yes. As of December 15th, the balance is $3,200. The room felt too hot. Where did it go? Withdrawn in 4 cashier's checks, December 8th, 9th, 12th, and 14th, made out to Highland Properties, LLC. He showed me the receipts, Diane's signature on each one. I checked. Highland Properties purchased a condominium on January 2nd. turnkey unit in the new development on County Road 7. She bought a condo. With your father's life insurance money. Peterson's voice was gentle. Russ, your father banked with us for 50 years. I knew him. This isn't right. I stared at the papers. December 8th, the day I left. She'd started withdrawing money the next morning. Can I get copies? Already made them. He handed over a folder. And Russ, for what it's worth, I've known you since you were a boy. Your word's always been good. That means something. I called Linda from the truck, hands shaking on the steering wheel. She bought a condo, I said, with the life insurance money. $47,000. Silence. Then, when? Started withdrawing it December 8th, day after I left. Jesus, Linda's voice went sharp. That's marital funds. She can't just... Russ, this is asset hiding. And combined with the forged loan applications, papers rustled. How fast can you get those bank records to my office? 20 minutes? Do it. The hearing's tomorrow. This changes everything. Friday morning, courthouse. The hearing room smelled like old wood and floor polish, radiator clanking heat. Judge Morrison presided, 60-something, gray beard, reading glasses on a chain. Diane sat with her lawyer, Donald Hayes. Mid-40s, expensive suit, briefcase that probably cost more than my truck. She wore dark colors, minimal makeup, looked smaller somehow. Linda and I sat across the aisle. She had 3 folders stacked in front of her. Hayes stood first. Your Honor, my client fears for her safety. Mr. Brennan abandoned the marital home without warning. Has been volatile and uncommunicative. Your Honor, Linda interrupted. May I? Judge Morrison waved her on. Linda stood. Mr. Brennan did not abandon the home. Mrs. Brennan changed the locks within 12 hours of his departure, effectively barring him from the property. We have documentation. She handed papers to the clerk. Additionally, Mrs. Brennan withdrew $47,000 from their joint account in the 4 days following his departure, his late father's life insurance payout. She used these funds to purchase a condominium in her name only. We have bank records. Hayes's face tightened. Your Honor, Mrs. Brennan has a right to access marital funds. She also forged his signature on loan applications attempting to encumber the family farm with $150,000 in debt. Linda slid more papers forward. First Trust Bank has filed a fraud report with the county sheriff. The judge took off his reading glasses, looked at Diane. Mrs. Brennan, did you sign your husband's name on loan applications? Diane whispered to Hayes. He stood. We'll need to review these allegations. It's a yes or no question, counselor. Yes? Hayes sat down. Diane's face was pale. Judge Morrison put his glasses back on. Motion for restraining orders denied. Both parties are to maintain the status quo. Mrs. Brennan, you will provide full accounting of all withdrawals from joint accounts. Mr. Brennan, you have every right to access the property. It's still in your name, pending estate transfer. He looked at both lawyers. I suggest you two work toward a settlement. I don't want to see this case again unless absolutely necessary. We're done here. Outside, cold air hit like a slap. Linda walked me to my truck. You won, she said. Doesn't feel like winning. It is. He saw through her. She zipped her coat against the wind. But Russ, she's not going to stop. We just backed her into a corner. Cornered animals bite. I drove back to Earl's barn through freezing rain, hands tight on the wheel. My phone buzzed at a red light. Text from Diane. You're making a huge mistake. Then another, this didn't have to get ugly. I blocked her number and kept driving. That night, I lay on Earl's cot, listening to cattle shift in their stalls. The wind howled through gaps in the barn walls, and somewhere in the dark, ice cracked off the eaves and shattered on frozen ground. 4 months until April 15th. Linda's words kept playing. Cornered animals bite. I didn't know it yet, but she was right. First Sunday of February, First Methodist again. I went this time. Sat in the back row, alone, felt every eye in the congregation. Pastor Tom saw me when he walked to the pulpit, gave a small nod. After the service, he caught me in the parking lot. Cold wind, smell of exhaust and coffee from the fellowship hall. Russ, glad you came. Figured it was time. Walk with me a minute? He led me toward the empty parish garden, dead flower beds covered in frost. I've heard things, from both sides. Diane says you've been uncooperative. You say she's been planning this for months. She has been. I've got documents. Tom was quiet for a moment, breath steaming. Would you both be willing to try mediation? Not legal mediation, just a conversation. with me present. What's the point? The point is, you've been married 28 years. Maybe there's a way through this that doesn't destroy everything. He looked at me. I know you're hurt, but I also know you're a man of faith. Grace is hard, but it's what we're called to. I thought about it. The unsigned deed, the forged loans, the $47,000. I'll try, I said. Once, if she agrees. I'll call her today. Wednesday evening, church conference room. Smell of old carpet and burnt coffee from the pot in the corner. Fluorescent lights humming. Round table, 4 chairs. Pastor Tom sat at one end. Linda came with me but stayed silent. Observer only, she'd said. Diane brought her lawyer, Hayes, who also stayed quiet. Tom folded his hands. I want to start with prayer. We bowed our heads. He prayed for wisdom, for healing, for open hearts. When he finished, the silence stretched thin. Diane, Tom said gently, Russ has agreed to this conversation. Would you like to start? She looked smaller than I remembered. No makeup, hair pulled back, hands clasped on the table. I just want this to be fair, she said. I put 28 years into this marriage, into that farm. I deserve something. What do you consider fair? Tom asked. She glanced at Hayes. He gave a tiny nod. The farm is worth $850,000 according to the assessments. I think we should sell it, split the proceeds. Russ can buy something smaller, and I can... She stopped. We can both start over. The radiator clanked. Someone's phone buzzed and went silent. That farm's been in my family 3 generations, I said, and I've been your wife for 28 years. Her voice rose slightly. I worked that farm too, Russ. I did the books, I helped with calving season. You did the books for 3 years, then you started selling real estate and stopped. Because we needed the money. We needed the money because you were spending it. I kept my voice level. Designer clothes, open house budgets, your investment club trips to Nashville. Her face flushed. That's my career. Funded by my father's life insurance, which you took without asking. Tom raised a hand. Let's take a breath. Diane looked at him. Pastor, I'm not trying to be vindictive. I just want what's fair. Half of the farm's value. That's reasonable for 28 years. The farm isn't marital property, Linda said quietly. It's inheritance. Hayes shifted. If the estate transfer deadline passes, it becomes marital property during probate. Which is why she's been delaying the transfer, Linda said, for 6 months. I haven't been delaying anything. You forged his signature on loan applications. Silence. Diane's mouth opened, closed. I didn't. The bank has the documents, I said. Sheriff's investigating. Tom looked between us, face grave. Diane, is that true? She didn't answer, just stared at the table. Tom leaned back slowly. I think we need to pause this conversation. There's nothing to pause, Diane said. Her voice had gone cold. He gets everything or we sell everything. That's his position. My position is keeping my father's land. Fine, she stood. Then we'll let the courts decide. Hayes gathered his papers. Diane walked out without looking back. After the door closed, Tom sat quiet for a long moment. I'm sorry, Russ, he said finally. I hoped. I know. He walked me to the parking lot. Cold rain starting to fall, smell of wet asphalt. For what it's worth, he said, I believe you. About the loan applications, about the planning. He put a hand on my shoulder. Some people, they make choices we can't understand. All you can do is hold to what's right and trust God with the rest. Thank you, Pastor. That night, my phone rang, number I didn't recognize. Mr. Brennan, this is Roy Hutchins. Roy, everything okay? Yeah, just wanted you to know. Diane came by our place this afternoon, asked if Stella and I would testify that you'd been threatening, aggressive, said she was afraid of you. He paused. We told her no, told her we've known you 30 years and that's not who you are. My throat tightened. I appreciate that. She didn't like hearing it. Got pretty upset, actually. Another pause. Russ, we're with you. Just wanted you to know. After we hung up, I sat on the cot in Earl's office, listening to the rain on the barn roof. My phone buzzed, text from Stella, praying for you, you're good people, then another from Pastor Tom. I was wrong about her. I'll pray for you both. But Russ, keep fighting for what's right. Outside, the rain turned to sleet, tapping against the window like small stones. Spring was supposed to come, but February felt colder than December ever had. Mid-January, I'd started noticing the looks in town. At the diner, Millie brought my coffee without a word, face tight. At the hardware store, Jim Foster rang up my purchase but didn't meet my eyes. Word was spreading, Diane's version. By late January, it got worse. Beth Kramer, one of Diane's investment club friends, hosted a gathering at her house. Support circle, she called it. Stella told me about it later, secondhand through Roy. Diane sat in Beth's living room, tissue box on her lap, telling 8 women about her fear, how I'd been distant for years, how the separation had been sudden, violent in its coldness, how she'd asked for counseling and I'd refused. I'm afraid to be alone with him, she'd said. Beth had listened, nodding along. Then she'd ask quietly, Diane, I've known Russ for 20 years. He's never struck me as aggressive. Are you sure? Abusers are good actors, Diane had said. That's what makes them so dangerous. 2 women left early, the rest stayed, but Stella said the energy had shifted. People weren't sure what to believe anymore. Thursday morning, last week of January, Linda called. I found something. Her voice was tight with energy. Come to my office. Now. I drove through freezing rain, the county roads slick and black. Linda's office smelled like coffee and paper, the fluorescent lights buzzing. She had documents spread across her desk. I subpoenaed Diane's financial records, bank statements, credit card transactions, everything since September. She handed me a printout. Look at this, October 12th. It was a filing receipt. State of Virginia, Articles of Incorporation. Business name, Brennan Kolb Development, LLC. Members listed, Diane Brennan, Marcus Kolb. Who's Marcus Kolb? I asked. Real estate investor, friend of Diane's from her brokerage. I looked him up. Specializes in land acquisition and development. Linda pulled out another sheet. Here's where it gets interesting. According to the LLC documents, the business purpose is real estate acquisition and development with focus on agricultural property conversion. The words blurred. I read them again. Agricultural property conversion. Your farm, Russ. Linda sat back. She formed an LLC with this guy in October, 2 months before the holiday party, 2 months before you left. Why? Because LLCs can purchase property at probate sales. If the estate transfer deadline passes, your father's farm goes to auction. Brennan Kolb Development swoops in, buys it at a discount, flips it for development. She tapped the papers. I checked county zoning. Your land is already flagged for potential residential rezoning. There's a housing shortage in the county. Developers are circling. I sat down slowly, the chair creaking. The party wasn't the breaking point, Linda said. The party was bait. She wanted you to leave so she could claim abandonment. She wanted witnesses to see you walk out. Then she files fast, delays everything, runs out the clock until April 15th. And the farm goes to probate, where she and Marcus buy it cheap and sell it for $1 million plus. Linda's face was hard. Russ, this wasn't a marriage falling apart. This was a business plan. The fluorescent lights hummed. Outside, freezing rain tapped the window. Can we prove it? I asked. The LLC formation is public record. What we need now is communications, emails, texts between her and Marcus discussing the farm. That's conspiracy to defraud. She pulled out her legal pad. I'm deposing Marcus next week. If he lies, we have perjury. If he tells the truth, we have everything we need. What if he doesn't cooperate? Men like Marcus always cooperate. When they realize they're looking at fraud charges, they flip. She smiled, thin and sharp. He's a businessman. He'll cut a deal. That night, I couldn't sleep. Lay on the cot in Earl's office, staring at the ceiling, listening to cattle breathe in the dark. 28 years. She'd been planning this since September, maybe longer. The holiday party, the humiliation, the tears and apologies afterward, all of it scripted. A performance with witnesses. My phone buzzed. Text from Jolene. Linda called me. I can't believe it. I'm so sorry, Russ. Then another. Your mama would be furious, but she'd also be proud of how you're handling this. I texted back. Thank you for the documents. You saved the farm. 3 dots appeared. Then, that's what family does. Saturday morning, first auction of February. The crowd was different, bigger than last week. Roy and Stella sat front row. Pastor Tom came, sat in back. Even Jolene showed up, standing by the coffee urn. Word had gotten out. Not Diane's version, the real version. I called the lots, gavel in hand. Sold 6 head of cattle, 2 heifers, a bull calf. Prices were decent. Earl took the mic after the last sale. "Folks, before you go," his voice echoed in the barn, rough and certain. "I've been running this auction 40 years. I've seen honest men and I've seen grifters. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference, but time and truth, they always win out." He looked at me. Integrity's rarer than good breeding stock. When you find it, you hold on. Applause. Real this time. Not scattered, solid. After everyone left, Earl poured 2 cups of coffee from the urn. We sat on the loading dock, legs dangling, watching February rain fall on frozen fields. "She's not going to stop," I said. "I know. Linda says the deposition's next week, says Marcus will flip." Earl nodded slowly. "Then it'll be over." I hoped he was right. But I'd learned something these past weeks. When you back someone into a corner, when you take away all their exits, they don't surrender. They come out swinging. First week of March, Marcus Kolb's deposition. Linda's office, conference room upstairs. Smell of old coffee and stressed sweat. Digital recorder on the table. Court reporter in the corner typing every word. Marcus was 48, expensive haircut, nervous hands. His lawyer sat beside him, young guy, looking like he wanted to be anywhere else. Linda started simple. "Mr. Kolb, how do you know Diane Brennan?" "We work at the same brokerage, Blue Ridge Realty." "How long have you known her?" 3 years, since she got her license." "Are you friends?" "Professional acquaintances." Linda slid a paper across the table. "This is the Articles of Incorporation for Brennan Kolb Development, LLC, filed October 12th. You're listed as a member, is that correct?" Marcus glanced at his lawyer. "Yes." "What's the purpose of this LLC?" "Real estate investment." "What kind of real estate?" His jaw tightened. "Residential development opportunities." Linda pulled out a folder, opened it slowly. "Mr. Kolb, I'm going to show you some emails. These were subpoenaed from your business account." She handed him printouts. "October 15th. From Diane Brennan to you. Can you read the subject line?" Marcus's face went pale. "Brennan Property. Timeline." "In the body of the email?" He didn't answer. Linda read it aloud. "Marcus, transfer deadline is April 15th. If we can delay filing past that date, property goes to probate. Estimated value $850K. Market value post-development 1.2 M. Your share 30% as discussed. Diane." She looked up. "Did you receive this email?" "I want immunity," Marcus said suddenly. "I want to make a deal." His lawyer put a hand on his arm. They whispered, urgent and low. Linda waited, face calm. Finally, Marcus looked up. "I'll tell you everything. But I want immunity from fraud charges." "That's a conversation for the prosecutor," Linda said. "But cooperation helps. Talk to me now, Mr. Kolb. What was the plan?" He swallowed hard. "Diane approached me in September, said her marriage was ending, said she had an opportunity. Her husband's father had died, left him a farm. There was a 6-month window to transfer the estate. If the deadline passed, the property went to probate sale. And she said if she could delay the transfer, the farm would sell at auction. We'd form an LLC, buy it at probate, usually 30 to 40% below market, then flip it for development. I'd get 30% of profits, she'd get 70. How much profit? 300,000, maybe more. His hands were shaking now. It was supposed to be a clean business deal. She said the marriage was already over, said her husband wanted out. I didn't know what? That she was setting him up. That the party, the humiliation, it was planned to make him leave so she could claim abandonment. Marcus wiped his face. I showed up at that party because she asked me to. Said it would help to have witnesses see how unhappy the marriage was. I didn't know she was going to... He stopped. Going to what? Make him look like the villain. Make herself look like the victim. He looked sick. When I heard about the forged loan applications, I realized this wasn't just a divorce. She was destroying him. Linda leaned forward. Did you participate in any fraud? Forgery? Asset hiding? No, I swear. I formed the LLC. I did property assessments. I was waiting for April 15th. His voice dropped. That's all I did. Do you have other communications with Mrs. Brennan? Texts, emails, meeting notes? Yes, everything. I'll turn it all over. I don't want to go to jail for this. Linda closed her folder. Provide everything to my office by Friday. I'll speak to the prosecutor about a cooperation agreement. After Marcus and his lawyer left, Linda looked at me. We have her, she said. Conspiracy, fraud, asset manipulation. The settlement hearing is March 20th. Judge Morrison will see all of this. I sat there, hands cold. What happens to her? Legally, she'll get nothing from the estate. Might have to repay the $47,000 she stole. Could face criminal charges, but that's up to the prosecutor. Linda's face softened slightly. Russ, you won. The farm stays yours. She's done. I should have felt relief, victory. Instead, I felt hollow. That night, I drove past the old farmhouse. Lights on inside, Diane's car in the driveway. 28 years I'd lived there. Built the workshop, fixed the barn roof, planted trees that were 20 feet tall now, all of it poison. Back at Earl's barn, I sat in the dark office, listening to March rain on the roof. Not freezing anymore, just cold. The kind of rain that smells like thaw, like mud season coming. My phone rang. Pastor Tom. Russ, I heard about the deposition. I'm sorry, I really thought... He paused. I was wrong about her, about what she was capable of. You tried to help. That's more than most people did. I should have seen it. The signs were there. The manipulation, the way she controlled the narrative. His voice was heavy. Evil doesn't always look like evil. Sometimes it looks like a hurt spouse asking for prayer. After we hung up, I opened my desk drawer, found the old photo album buried under work gloves and receipts, our wedding photo, 1997, Diane in white, me in my father's old suit, both of us 20-something and smiling. Her hand on my arm, my hand on her waist. I'd loved her, really loved her, and she'd been planning to rob me blind. I closed the album and put it back in the drawer. Some things you don't throw away, even when they hurt, you just stop looking at them. First Saturday of March, and the auction barn was packed. I stood at the podium, gavel in hand, not mine yet, still Earl's from the display case, looking at bleachers full of farmers, 50, maybe 60 people, more than we'd had since November. Word had spread, not through gossip this time, through action. Roy and Stella had told their friends, Pastor Tom had mentioned it to the congregation, Jolene had talked to half the county clerk's office. The story was out, the real one. I called the first lot. Yearling heifer, lot number 3. Who'll start me at 400? Roy's hand went up, then another, then 3 more. Sold for $620, good price. The rhythm settled in, my voice, the bidding, the gavel coming down. Numbers and truth, the simplest language there is. By 10 o'clock, I'd sold 12 head. Prices were strong. Then I saw her, back row, by the door, Diane, standing alone. She wore dark clothes, her face pale and set. Our eyes met across the barn. She didn't look away. I called the next lot. Bull calf, lot 14, healthy stock, good bloodlines, start at 500. Bids came in. I kept my voice steady, professional, brought the gavel down, sold to a farmer from the next county. When I looked back, Diane was gone. Earl took the microphone after the last sale. The barn went quiet, just the sound of cattle shifting, boots on concrete. Folks, before you head out, he cleared his throat. I've been running this auction 40 years, seen a lot of people come through these doors, good ones, bad ones, everything in between. He looked at me. Russ Brennan's granddaddy started this auction back in 1962. His daddy worked it for 30 years. Russ has been calling lots here for 20. Someone started clapping, then another, then the whole barn. Earl raised his hand for quiet. Some of you heard stories these past months. Some were true, some weren't, but I'll tell you what I know. Russ is honest as the day is long. His word means something. And in this business, in this life, that's everything. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a wooden case. Opened it. Inside, brass gleaming, my grandfather's gavel. Engraved on the handle, truth rings clear. Your granddaddy's, Earl said, voice rough. Been sitting in my office waiting for the right time. Figure that time's now? The barn erupted. Standing ovation, boots stomping, whistles and hollers. Earl handed me the gavel. The brass was cool under my fingers, worn smooth by 70 years of use. My grandfather's hand had held this. My father had held it once, at his own father's funeral, then given it to Earl for safekeeping. You earned it back, Earl said quietly, just for me. I looked out at the crowd. Roy and Stella, front row, Pastor Tom in the middle section, Jolene by the coffee urn, wiping her eyes, 20 other families I'd known for decades. Thank you, I said. Voice came out hoarse. For standing by me. For believing the truth when it was easier to believe lies. More applause. I raised the gavel. Next auction, same time. 2 weeks from now. Bring your cattle. Bring your questions. Bring your honesty. That's all I ask. After everyone cleared out, I stood alone on the auction floor, holding my grandfather's gavel. Through the barn door, I could see March sky, gray and heavy with coming rain. But warmer now. The ice was gone. My phone buzzed. Linda Chen. Marcus turned over everything. Emails, texts, meeting notes, 47 documents total. Settlement hearing Thursday, 10 a.m. This is over, Russ. Monday morning, Marcus's documents arrived at Linda's office. I sat across from her desk while she went through them, making notes on her legal pad. Email from Diane, September 20th. Met with DH today. Retainer signed. Timeline. December incident. January filing. April deadline. Clean exit. Text from Marcus, October 1st. Did property assessment. You were right. 850K minimum. 1. 2M development potential. This is solid. Email from Diane, November 8th. Tried loans. Didn't work. New plan. Let deadline pass naturally. Less risk. We wait until April 16th. Property goes to probate. We bid. Text exchange. December 7th. Night of the party. Diane. He heard. Perfect. Witnesses saw everything. Marcus. Are you sure about this? Diane. Trust me. He'll leave. Always does when I push too hard. Then it's just paperwork. Linda looked up. She documented her own conspiracy. People get confident, I said. People get stupid. She closed the folder. Thursday morning, Judge Morrison sees all of this. Diane's lawyer already knows. I sent copies Friday. I'm expecting a settlement offer before we walk into that courtroom. What kind of offer? She'll ask for nothing from the estate, keep the condo she bought with stolen money, and we agree not to pursue criminal charges. Linda leaned back. That's my guess. And if I say no, then we go to trial. She gets destroyed publicly, faces fraud charges, possibly jail time. But it'll take months, cost you money, and keep you tied to this mess until summer. I thought about it. The farm, the barn, the cattle, spring planting coming in 3 weeks. I want it over, I said. Then we take the settlement. She gets nothing. You get everything that matters. We move on. Tuesday afternoon, Earl and I repaired fence line on the south pasture. The ground was soft now, mud season in full swing, smell of wet earth and coming rain, distant thunder rumbling. Hearings Thursday, I said, driving a post. You nervous? No, just tired. Earl handed me wire. Your daddy would be proud, you know, the way you handled this. Didn't lose your head, didn't lose your land. Almost lost both. But you didn't. He looked at the fields, the tree line, the old barn in the distance. This land's been Brennan land for 90 years. Took some fighting to keep it that way. That's not shame. That's honor. We worked until the rain started, soft and steady, not cold anymore. Just spring rain soaking into earth that was ready for it. That night, I got a phone call. Number I didn't recognize, but local area code. Dad? My son's voice. I hadn't heard it in 5 years. Jacob? I heard. About everything. Diane, the divorce, the farm. He paused. Dad, I'm sorry for what I said back then, about selling, about you being stubborn. My throat tightened. You were trying to help. I was trying to make you live my life. That wasn't fair. He took a breath. You fought for that land, for Grandpa's legacy. I respect that. I should have respected it 5 years ago. You were young. I was stupid. A pause. Can I come visit after this is settled? I want to see the farm again. Want to see you. I sat down on the cot, phone pressed to my ear. Yeah, yes, anytime. Okay, I'll call you next week, after Thursday. After we hung up, I sat in the dark for a long time. Outside, spring rain tapped the barn roof. Inside, something that had been broken for 5 years was starting to heal. Thursday morning would bring an ending, but maybe it would bring a beginning, too. Thursday morning, March 20th. Courthouse at 9:30, half hour before the hearing. I wore my good shirt, the one I kept for funerals and weddings. Pressed slacks, work boots shined. Linda met me on the steps, briefcase in hand. Her lawyer called this morning, she said. They want to settle. What are the terms? Diane keeps the condo, purchased with marital funds, but we won't fight it. You keep the farm, all equipment, all cattle. She waives any claim to the estate. Joint accounts split 50-50 of what's left, about $3,000 total. No alimony either direction. Linda looked at me, and she agrees not to contest the estate transfer. You can file the deed today if you want. What about the criminal charges, the forgery? That's up to you. If you want to press charges, I'll support it, but it means more court, more time, more of your life spent on this. I looked at the courthouse. Gray stone, American flag snapping in the wind. Inside those doors was Diane, probably nervous, probably angry. 28 years of marriage, ending with paperwork. I just want it over, I said. Then we accept the settlement, you sign, she signs, it's done. Inside, the courtroom smelled like old wood and floor polish. Judge Morrison sat at the bench, reading glasses perched on his nose. Diane sat with Donald Hayes, her lawyer. She wore dark blue, hair pulled back severe. Wouldn't look at me. The judge reviewed the settlement terms, reading them aloud in a flat voice. When he finished, he looked over his glasses. Mrs. Brennan, do you understand these terms? You're waiving all claims to the marital property known as 4 and 12 Brennan Road, including structures, livestock, and equipment. You understand that? Yes, Your Honor. Bards. Her voice was small. And Mr. Brennan, you're agreeing to allow Mrs. Brennan to retain the property at 89 Highland Court, the condominium purchased with marital funds, without seeking reimbursement. You understand? Yes, Your Honor. This settlement includes a mutual non-disparagement clause. Neither party will publicly discuss the details of this dissolution. Violation results in contempt charges. He looked at both of us. I'm approving this settlement. You'll both sign the final decree, which will be entered into record today. The marriage is dissolved, effective immediately. He signed the papers. The clerk brought them to us. First to Diane, then to me. I signed my name. Russell James Brennan. The pen scratched across paper, loud in the quiet courtroom. Diane signed hers. Diane Marie Brennan. Her hand shook slightly. The clerk took the papers back to the judge. He stamped them, a dull thud that seemed to echo. You're divorced, he said. Good luck to you both. Outside, cold March air. The sky was gray but breaking up, patches of blue showing through. Linda walked me to my truck. It's done, she said. Yeah. The deed, you can file it today. I'll walk it through probate myself. Have it recorded by Monday. Thank you for everything. She shook my hand, firm and sure. You're good people, Russ. Don't forget that. I drove to the county clerk's office. Jolene was at the window processing forms for an older couple. When she saw me, she smiled. Give me 5 minutes, she mouthed. I waited in the plastic chairs, holding the estate transfer deed in its folder. Through the window, I could see the town square, the coffee shop, the hardware store. Normal life, carrying on like always. Jolene called me up. Mr. Brennan, how can I help you today? I handed her the folder. Estate transfer needs to be filed and recorded. She opened it, checked the paperwork, nodded. This'll take about 20 minutes to process. Notary public is in the back. Judge Whitmore's secretary handles that. Go on back, she'll witness your signature. 20 minutes later, it was done. The farm was officially mine. Not pending, not in probate, not contested. Mine. The deed had my name on it. The county seal pressed into wax, filed and recorded March 20th, 2025, 26 days before the deadline. I drove back to the farm, my farm, for the first time in 3 months. The driveway looked the same. Gravel, potholes, the oak tree my grandfather planted in 1955. The house sat quiet, windows dark. Diane's car was gone. I didn't go inside, didn't want to, not yet. Instead, I walked to the barn. The workshop door opened easy. I'd never changed that lock. Inside smelled like sawdust and old coffee. Familiar and right. My tools hung on the pegboard, each in its place. The workbench my father built in 1978. I sat down and just breathed. My phone buzzed. Text from Earl. Heard it's done. Congratulations. Come by the barn tomorrow. Got something for you. Then one from Roy. Proud of you, Russ. Stop by for dinner this weekend. Stella's making pot roast. Then Pastor Tom, praying for you. Peace and healing, brother. Then Jolene, your mama's smiling down. I just know it. I sat there reading them, throat tight. Outside, March wind moved through the bare trees. Not cold anymore, just cool. The kind of wind that smells like soil and rain and things starting to grow. Friday morning, I went back to First Trust Bank. Mr. Peterson met me in his office, shook my hand. Heard the news. Congratulations, Russ. Thank you for everything, for catching the fraud, for filing the report. He waved it off. Just doing what's right. Your father banked here 50 years. That means something. He pulled out a folder. Now, let's talk about your accounts. Joint account is closed, per the settlement. I've opened a new checking account in your name only. The $3,000 from the settlement is already deposited. What about the $47,000 she took? That's between her and her conscience. Court didn't order reimbursement, so legally it's gone. He leaned back. But Russ, you've got the farm. 200 acres free and clear. That's worth more than any amount of cash. He was right. Saturday morning, second auction of March, I stood at the podium with my grandfather's gavel, calling lots to a full barn. The rhythm came natural, my voice, the bidding, the brass ringing clear when I brought it down. Sold to Roy Hutchins, lot 8, sold to Jim Foster, lot 12, sold to a young farmer I didn't know, lot 15. He nodded respectfully when I caught his eye. After the auction, people lingered, bought me coffee, shook my hand, clapped my shoulder. Didn't say much. Farmers aren't big on words, but I felt it. The welcome back, the respect. Earl found me by the loading dock. Walk with me. We went to his office above the barn. He pulled a bottle of bourbon from his desk drawer, poured 2 glasses. To your grandfather, he said, raising his glass. To my grandfather. We drank. What's next? Earl asked. Spring planting, got 3 weeks to get the fields ready. You going to live in that house? I thought about it. The house where Diane had lived, where she'd planned my destruction, where 28 years had rotted from the inside. Eventually, right now it feels like hers. Give it time, maybe it'll feel like mine again. And if it doesn't, then I'll build something new. Got 200 acres, plenty of room. Earl nodded slowly. Your boy called me yesterday, Jacob. Asked if I thought you'd want to see him. What did you say? Said you'd be a damn fool not to. He refilled our glasses. He's coming next month, April, after planting. Wants to help with calving season. My chest went tight. He said that? Said he wants to learn. Said he'd been wrong to push you to sell. Said he wants to understand why the land matters. Earl smiled. Kid's grown up, Russ. Took him long enough, but he got there. That afternoon I drove to 412 Brennan Road and parked in front of the house. Sat there looking at it, white clapboard, green shutters, wraparound porch my father added in 1985. I got out, unlocked the front door. Inside smelled stale, closed up, but underneath that, wood smoke, coffee, the faint scent of my mother's lavender sachets that had been in the linen closet for 20 years. This was my house. Had been my parents' house, my grandfather's before that. Diane had lived here, but she'd never made it hers. Not really. I walked through room by room, kitchen, living room, my father's old office, upstairs to the bedroom where I'd slept for 28 years. The bed was made. Diane's things were gone. Clothes, jewelry box, the stack of real estate magazines she kept on the nightstand. I sat on the edge of the mattress. 28 years. Most of them good, some of them great, the last few poison. But that was over now. I stood up, opened the windows, let March air flow through, clearing out the stale, bringing in the new. Downstairs, I started a pot of coffee. The machine gurgled and hissed, familiar sound. While it brewed, I walked out to the workshop. My grandfather's gavel sat on the workbench where I'd left it. I picked it up, felt the weight, the smooth brass worn by decades of truth-telling. On the pegboard, my tools hung in perfect order. Hammer, saw, level, square, everything in its place. I pulled down the handsaw and a piece of pine from the lumber rack. Didn't have a plan, really. Just needed to make something, build something, prove to myself that I could still create after all this destruction. By evening, I had the frame of a birdhouse. Simple thing, 4 walls and a roof. I'd finish it tomorrow, add the entry hole, sand it smooth. The sun was setting when I walked back to the house. Orange light across the fields, long shadows from the fence posts. In the distance, cattle grazed in the south pasture. My phone buzzed. Text from Jacob. Dad, I'm coming April 10th. Can I stay with you? Want to help with calving if that's okay? I typed back, yes, your room's ready. Bring work clothes. 3 dots appeared, then, thanks, Dad. See you soon. I stood on the porch, watching darkness come. Not cold now, just cool. Spring dark, the kind that smells like earth and rain and new things growing. Inside, I'd make dinner. Tomorrow I'd start the tractor, check the fields, plan the planting schedule. But tonight, I just stood there, on my land, in front of my house, free. Not happy yet. Happiness takes time, takes healing, but free. And that was enough to start. April 14th, one day before the deadline. That didn't matter anymore. I drove to the bank at 9 a.m. The deed already filed and recorded, but I wanted to see it one more time. Mr. Peterson brought out the official copy, county seal pressed into the paper, my name in black ink, Russell James Brennan, sole owner. Your father would be proud, he said. I hope so. Back at the farm, I walked the fields. The soil was warm now, ready for planting. I'd start Monday, corn in the south field, hay in the north. Jacob was coming in 4 days. We'd work the land together, father and son, the way it used to be. In the workshop, I finished the birdhouse, sanded it smooth, drilled the entry hole, added a small perch. Simple work, honest work. I hung it on the oak tree by the barn, facing east to catch the morning sun. That evening, I sat on the porch with coffee, watching the sun go down. A robin landed on the fence post, cocked its head, sang 3 clear notes. Then it flew to the birdhouse, inspected the hole, flew off. Tomorrow it might come back, might build a nest, might raise young there, or it might not. Either way, the house was there, ready. My phone sat silent on the porch rail. No texts from Diane, no calls from lawyers, just quiet. I'm 63 years old. I spent 28 years married to someone who tried to steal my father's land. That's not something you forget, not something you get over easy, but I've got 200 acres, a barn full of cattle, my grandfather's gavel, and a son coming home. I'm not happy yet. Happiness is for people who didn't lose what I lost, but I'm free, on my land, under my terms, and spring is here. That's enough to start with. That's enough.